So over the last year, there's been a lot of discussion around Esteban Ocon at Haas and how he's been doing, particularly relative to his teammate Ocon. And I just wanted to kind of weigh in on that, on my opinion on what's going on there. So the general consensus is there's a lot of shock around kind of how slow he's been really relative to Behrman. And for a lot of people, it's kind of been a shock really. I think they expected him to kind of be just as fast as Behrman, if not faster. And I think that opinion just comes from his experience in Formula One, I suppose, and how long he's been in it, and maybe his record against other teammates. But in this video, I look at his career and his head-to-head against other teammates to prove why it's not really so much a surprise why he's been performing as he is. So on your screen now, you can see the qualifying and race head-to-head with his respective teammates over his career. Obviously Q record qualifying, R record race, and you can see that. So we'll go to 2016, where he lost 2-6 in qualifying, but actually won 6-3 in the races. So that suggests that early on his race pace was pretty good. And then after that, it was Perez from 2017 to 18, in which he lost the qualifying head-to-head. And this is against someone who's known for having superior race pace to qualifying pace. And the race record also shows this because he's losing. He lost 4 races, which isn't too bad. But when you look at Perez's career as a whole, you know, a truly good driver would probably put him to bed, to be honest. I mean, you saw at Red Bull what Verstappen ended up doing to him, really. And I know there's obviously caveats with that, but the point still stands. And I think the most glaring one actually is when he went up against Ricciardo in 2020. Now, I know by this point Ricciardo had established himself in the team, but to lose 3-14 to Daniel Ricciardo and 4-13 in the races is totally ridiculous, to be honest. Now, I know he had 2019 off, but he had plenty of time in the Mercedes simulator that year. I don't think you should be losing that much time just from having a year out. And if you look at some of the gaps, I'll try and find some and put them on the screen. There were some pretty big gaps in that season, and he just didn't really come close, to be honest. But then after that, he went to Alpine against Alonso in 2021 to 2022. Now, we should keep in mind that Alonso had been out of F1 a lot longer. He'd been out since 2018, so he'd missed 2 seasons, which is... I know Ocon missed one, but I don't think Alonso had done much simulator work, to be honest. And the qualifying head-to-head shows him losing by 1 race, but he still loses to an older version of Alonso who'd been out of the sport for a long time, who for the first half of 2021 was having issues with the steering, I think. And the race head-to-head is equal. I don't know if this accounts for like luck or whatever, and I know that's kind of a weird way to account for things, but in 2022, Alonso was very unlucky with DNFs. I think I read he should have been about 50 points ahead if it wasn't for mechanical DNFs and just kind of unluckiness. So that is another bad thing on his record, losing to Alonso, who'd been out of the sport for 2 years. So yeah, we already start to see a picture of a guy who's, you know, not known for like dominating his teammates. He's more or less equal with kind of people like Perez, and he was getting crushed by kind of a prime Ricciardo, you could say. But then we move forward to Gasly in 2023 to 2024. As you can see, he loses the qualifying, and he actually wins the race head-to-head, to be fair to him. But you have to keep in mind at this point he'd been at Alpine since 2020. I forgot that they rebranded, so actually he didn't move team in 2021, which is even worse for him. So yeah, basically Gasly came in and stomped on him. And I know there was some weirdness going on at the end of 2024, but his form completely collapsed actually around, I think, Qatar. He was just slow. And I know there might have been, you know, sabotage or whatever accusations, but he was like 6/6, maybe even more off Gasly by the end of the year. And he got so bad that he actually missed the last race. But it is pretty good for him that he won the race head-to-head, so that is fair enough. I think Gasly outscored him across both years. I'll get that up on the screen for you to judge, but I'm pretty sure that Gasly outscored him. So then we go on to Behrman. So obviously he left Alpine in disgrace at the end of 2024 and went and went to Haas, a new team, against a rookie. And keep in mind at this point, Ocon's been in the sport for 9 years, and except for like the first few races of 2025, Behrman has just crushed him, to be honest. Some of the qualifying gaps are pretty crazy, and there was just some points last year for Ocon where he was just he was just nowhere. I think one of the main reasons given is Behrman can handle more of an unstable rear end compared to Ocon, but I mean this is just pretty terrible for him. The race head to head, I suppose, isn't so bad, but I mean you can look at the standards from last year and this year, and you'll see the points difference is just crazy. And I know this year is obviously not done yet, and I mean Haas have been terrible this year. And yeah, that's something for another video. I think it's disgraceful, Haas's performance this year, particularly their team principal, who has no problem like slating his drivers, but then can't even bring a decent midfield contender. So, that's for a different video. But back to Ocon, he's gotten trounced by Behrman, who's literally a rookie who's just joined the sport, and I think it's Solov who's going to end up replacing not Solov, Kamara, who's going to end up replacing Ocon for next year. I think that's quite inevitable because Ferrari are going to want kind of a comparison between Behrman and Kamara for when Hamilton retires or when Leclerc maybe wakes up to his senses and leaves Ferrari. But so I don't really understand a lot of this confusion about why Ocon's been so slow, when in reality his career shows that he's probably operating at his standard level, to be honest. He's had 1 win in 9 years. He's never been given an opportunity at a top team, even with the Mercedes rumours in 2019. So yeah, this is just a video to talk about why I'm confused at people being upset at Ocon's performances.